Hello, everybody. You get a solo show tonight. I have been busy playtesting, and my schedule of guests ran out before I started scheduling new ones. And we're also in this weird spot where this week is chill. Next week, we go to Anaheim. Then we have a week of chill, and then we have another week of Anaheim. So I figured I would just kind of chill this week. Expect lots more guests coming up this month and the following months. I feel like we're also going to be bombarded with news from D23. I feel like the team at Ravensburger on all the lorecasts have really hyped that D23 is going to be a huge news event for us. So I am very hopeful that we are going to get more news because I would like to plan out my next year of Lorcana. Hello, hello. So I know last night I was lucky enough to have my game as one of the feature matches for the ICL. So had a very good match. I was running the Steel song Stitch Aliens and had a blast playing that. What event news? So I really had a lot of fun last night getting to play that. Really great time. We played against the Lorcana Cleveland Lorcana. I think that's the name of their team. So that was fun. They ended up taking the match, but I was excited that I won my match at least. So I'm doing my part, is what I said. Hey, Fairy Queen. I was just saying how we are supposed to get lots of news for Lorcana at D23, which I will be lucky enough to be attending this year. So I am playing in the CCQ at D23. You're so sweet, Melissa. Thank you. I loved all your hype posts. So I'm definitely excited for D23 as well. But I have to say, I am so nervous. I've heard horror stories from both of my Melissas. um, so Missy Enchanted will be she gave me some tips. And then my other Melissa will be joining me as we keep joking. It's the summer of Melissa and Courtney. So she will be my guide. Also will be there with a few other friends. So very, very excited for D23. We find out what events. So basically, you put in a request before the event for what panels you want to go see. So obviously Lorcana was my number one pick. So I find out on Friday if I got that panel. Otherwise, essentially you have to wait in a queue to hope that there is some space that you can get in. So definitely very hopeful. Everybody I am going with, we all put in for Lorcana as our first choice. I am a little bummed out. I didn't get to go to. I didn't win any of the raffles, so I won't have like a guarantee for the D23 gift set, which is a little disappointing. 30 rejection emails doesn't feel great. If anyone's wondering, I was like, this must be what it feels like when people apply for colleges. I weirdly, when I applied, I got accepted to all the colleges I applied to, which was really unfortunate because it was supposed to be how I narrowed my list of schools down. So I'm very excited for D23. I feel like every day we get a new list of things that are going to be on sale at D23. And every day my wallet hurts a little bit more. So a little concerned from that perspective. I keep joking that I think it's good I'm playing in the CCQ because that's going to protect my wallet for one of the days because I will be playing Lorcana and won't be able to shop. But that hasn't prevented many of my friends, from being like, "Hey, if you are able to get this, can you get me one?" Uh, I only see, that's good. That's all that counts. One is all that counts. You just need to get into one. Hello, hello. Today is a little bit of an unfiltered episode. So I have a little bit of an agenda. I obviously have the breakdown from some of the events over the weekend. I have some of those decks pulled up. Um, I talked a little bit already about playing. I'm playing in the season for the ICL. I am a part of the Lazy Boys team. So very fun. Excited to be a part of the Loungers for um, this season. I had one of my friends, "Get out of here. This is a Diet Coke. We don't none of that nonsense of Diet Pepsi in this place." I had a friend locally message me and be like, "Wait, are you not on The Incredibles anymore?" And no, I am 100% still on The Incredibles. I just happened to be playing ICL this season with the Lounge. The Lounge has 2 teams playing, so very excited to be a part of that. Grateful that I get to play. The Lounge is just like a really great place to get a lot of different perspectives on decks. And it's been, I feel like, a really powerful tool for me as I continue my competitive journey. I've been able to get a lot of really good reps in with friends. So, on there, as well as in person, as well as webcam games, and as well as that system that shall not be named. Um, Oh, great question. What gift did you pick for your membership? So I am a degenerate and I picked the plan where I got all of them. So I gave the Roosevelt shirt to my husband. The statue is over here. That's Mickey that comes with it. The pin set is up above on the very, very top of my bookshelf. And the bag and ears are actually hanging on my door because that's where I keep my Loungefly bags. I really like the Loungefly bags. It's super cute. I also really I like that one is a really big Loungefly. Um, I distracted myself by looking at chat. So I was talking about all the practice I'm getting in. So obviously playing in 2 really big competitive events, playing in both the D23 CZQ as well as LCQ. Really trying to make sure I am putting myself in the best position to play well. I love getting to play, and I have loved really trying to hone in towards the end of the season to try to make nationals. That's obviously my ultimate goal. If I'm being fully transparent, I don't know if I am comfortable on any of the decks that are doing well enough at this point in the meta that I'm feeling super, super confident. But I am feeling confident that from the start of this season to the end of this season, I have made significant progress in how I feel about my competitive play. And in my mind, that's also a win within itself. So, very excited about that. I have basically been to get ready for LCQ and CCQ at D23. I have basically got this like gauntlet, which I talked a little bit on my interview after my ICL match about. So next to me, which you can kind of see on camera, I have a card sorter. And you'd think, man, Courtney, that's a lot of cards. It is 16 different decks that I am using to playtest with. So a really, really grateful thing about being a part of an amazing team and why I say it's really awesome to have a really good community around you is, I do have a lot of cards, but, I definitely do not have enough Demonas and Hades and some of those other, high price legendaries to build all of these decks on my own, so, really grateful to my team for lending me some cards so I could build all of these decks, and obviously not only help myself, but helping, my whole team be able to test. So, just really I think this has been a really helpful feature. Obviously playing in some of the other formats that you can play right now, you get a lot of reps, but I really think like playing true paper games, so playing with cards is the best way to practice because you have to remember every trigger. You have to remember every line. You can't really have the magical software do it for you. So I think it's really important to play games in paper, play webcam games. And I've been really valuing that talking through lines while playing. So I definitely will say that like I have a full-time job outside of Lorcana. Lorcana sadly is not my full-time job. So the time that I have to dedicate to games, I really try to make sure that they're very good games and maybe it's not necessarily hundreds of games and hundreds of reps that I'm getting in, but every time I play a game of Lorcana, I know it's a very good game and I'm really looking at getting the most out of that game. So that I can learn from it and make sure I understand both my lines into the deck that I'm playing and kind of vice versa, my the opposing deck's lines into my deck because I think that really helps you be able to play your deck better when you kind of understand the whole picture. So that's the vibe that I've got for my little testing gauntlet. I see chat is battling over Coke, Pepsi, and Dr. Pepper. Um, guys, it's not even a battle. It's always going to be Coke, then Dr. Pepper, then Pepsi. But like Pepsi is like 10 rings down. Um, I'm like gonna get the uh like I'm gonna get the store brand Diet Cola before I get Diet Pepsi. So that's there's really there's no argument here. Um, well, we can take a look. Yeah, see, it just is. Um, we can take a look at some of the things that we have going on. So interesting here. So for anyone who isn't aware, let's see if we can get this out in the planet. If I can share my screen correctly. I want a window. Let's do it. Huzzah. Okay. So I just pulled up one of the random raffles, but this is the bundles that they're offering at D23. We've got the book, which I'm very excited for. I did sign up for one of the book signings. So I will get this book and be able to get it signed by the author. I wasn't able to get this bundle as a whole, but we have at least secured one piece of the bundle. And then my hope is that this line will be solely virtual queue for D23. So hoping that like that that will basically be my goal on Friday, will be to go to, um, be up bright and early and pray that I get a very good spot in the virtual queue. For those that aren't familiar how virtual queues work for Disney, basically you wake up at a set time and you have the app open and you click the button at that time and then you get placed into the line randomly. So it is really nice because you also have to be within a certain radius of like the convention center. So it kind of takes away the like process of um like scalpers like coming in line early and having like a ton of people. You're only allowed to virtual queue for yourself and one other person. I see, is there a link for this? So when you say a link for this, do you mean the bundle or like D23 itself? So if you go out, um it comes with a promo. Sorry, I'm trying to follow along. Yeah, so they had a this is kind of like everything about the CCQ and then kind of like extras, the bundle thing. My sister and so I will warn you, the link that I have is closed already. All of those raffles were done a few weeks ago, and they stated that there would still be I don't know if necessarily bundles, but like some of the items should be available for sale each day at their booth. Yes. Kirby, you are correct. Worst day ever. We got 30 rejection emails because there were 30 different time slots for the course of the whole weekend that you could end up registering for, and both there are 3 of us going and none of us got none of us got it. So I'm excited when I see anybody who is like a Lorcana player or another Lorcana content creator that got the bundle, because I'm like, what the heck? Like, did anyone I know, or was it just scalpers and like the Disney resellers get this? Because I keep seeing them on eBay for like $1,000 and I'm like, this is criminal. I was not emotionally prepared for that many disappointments. I agree. I wasn't emotionally prepared for 30 rejection letters or emails. So very excited for this event. They're also going to be running speed puzzling, collection quests, Disney villainous events, author readings for the Quest of Wonders. I'm hopeful that maybe we see the Honey Heist game that was at Gen Con this past weekend. Maybe we see demos of Coconut, which I didn't talk about this last week because we had a wonderful guest, but I was part of I had a VIP ticket in Indy, and that ended up being part of the VIP experience was testing coconuts. And at the time we couldn't really talk about it afterwards until they started to test it more publicly. So I'm very excited to see that being kind of tested and vetted out more fully because I think it's going to be a really fun format. I know that like people are very divided on how they feel about the format, and I think it's going to be a really great opportunity to bring in a whole nother group of people that don't necessarily want to play competitively. Um, and it gives an outlet that I think is very separate from the competitive play to play the game. For example, right now, I think we struggle locally here in the DFW area because we mostly have competitive players. So most of our leagues lean very competitive. So if we have families, if we have new players, it ends up being very lopsided when you play into one of those new players because they might have a frozen deck. They might have just a starter deck that they grabbed at the store. So I think switching and having that kind of multiplayer format that is very separate from core constructed and infinity constructed is going to be a great outlet. And we see how successful some other games that have singleton formats are, and we, I think, can definitely break into that segment with Lorcana. So I'm excited to see how that pans out. I'm currently really upset though. My one beef is that at Gen Con, if you tested, you were able to keep the coconut card, but the coconut card was just a sticker on bulk. They didn't print real cards. They just printed stickers and stuck them onto random bulk. And the reason I'm sad about that is I have a famous card and a demo card. So before Lorcana became Lorcana, when it was in its infancy, it was tested and referred to as famous. And there is lore, but behind why it was called famous, I don't remember it all. I'm fairly certain it was related to a restaurant or a bar that they thought up the game at. And then the demo cards were from demo decks that they had at, I believe, D23. I'm not 100% sure about that, and other of different events that they demoed the game at. So I know they had some demo events on cruises. They had some at Disney properties. I don't remember exactly where they did all the demos, but very lucky to have two of those cards. And I really wanted to add a coconut card, like demo card to the mix, but then I found out it was just a sticker, and a little part of me was like, well, my wallet's happy about that. I don't need to add that to the collection, but I have them kind of sitting right up there. So this is what the back of the Disney famous cards look like. And I have You Have Forgotten Me, which ended up being an actual card. So that's kind of cool. But I would really would have loved to have that like join my collection, and to not have that is a little sad, that they were just stickers. So hopefully they test that format. I think it would be a very good kind of testing ground for it. There's a wide variety of people that will be at the event. I know that, I've talked on here a little bit about my experience from the release at Disney World. We've had guests that were at the Disneyland event. I know some people watching have been to one of the releases at the event. So I'm also hoping that we kind of see what happens at D23 and kind of see the success of potentially what the virtual queues look like and how that manages crowd at their booth. And hopefully in turn, we see some of those things implemented when we have our next release in October for Into the Ink Dark. I think, yeah, Into the Ink Dark. Or am I a set ahead? Are we the Coco set? Is that next? Yeah, Hyperion. Okay. The Hyperia is the next set. I was a set ahead. So I am hopeful that we'll kind of level set and get to kind of correct that experience, because I have a lot of tolerance and patience. And that was tested to an extreme at the Disney World release. Um, it was just very, very unorthodox and like very much rewarding people that were breaking the rules. So very hopeful that we see a smooth D23 experience where that virtual queue works really well. Um, and the other thing I really like about virtual queue is you know exactly when you need to be at the place and you can only line up so much before that time period. So it makes it very transparent of like kind of how long you're going to have to spend at that booth, which is very nice. I think that that's something that makes like your experience particularly at an event like D23 where you are trying to go to all sorts of booths, shows, you can kind of manage your day a little bit better. So we shall see what happens. I'm very interested to see like how the more general population of Disney fans takes to Lorcana at D23. And the reason I say that is something that I vocalized that I'm kind of disappointed in Disney as a whole that I haven't seen a lot of is if you go to any of the parks, you just don't see Lorcana. It doesn't exist at the parks. Like once it sells out pre-release weekend, it's gone. It's nowhere to be found for a little while. Early on, you could find one of the D100 sets from like Floodborne, and then there were some like random times you could find a few of those gift sets in some of the shops within the parks, but that those I feel like were gone. It's been, like I said, floodborne, so it's been quite some time before we've seen seen anything at the parks. Yeah. Um Surrounding stores as well. However, I was lucky enough that my parents were kind enough after the release. They popped over and drove me from Disney to the airport, and we stopped at a Cool Stuff Gaming store location that was really close to the Orlando airport, and they had boxes available, and they were slightly above MSRP, but like when I say slightly, I mean like $5 to $10. So in my mind, that was a pretty decent price, particularly that first weekend we were seeing boxes between like 200 and 250, and I didn't pay close to that. I think I paid 150 for that box. So definitely a more manageable price than what we were seeing at some stores. So that was a nice little plus, but really I think it would be beneficial for the game wanting to get some of those casual players into the game and Disney fans to like collect, like that is just such a good key audience that you can hit. And I know I've gone with friends and family that have smaller kids, so I've made books, like autograph books with the Lorcana cards so that my friends' kids could get them signed by characters, and they had a blast with that. It would be really cool to, kind of engage that more. We've seen like we had really great character interactions with um my nieces and nephews when we built those little books. Some of the characters like interacted more with you specific to the card. So I think like I had a Chip and Dale card, and like on the Dale card it was or on the Chip card it was Dale making a quote of from Dale making fun of Chip, and they were like interacting with each other being like you're picking on me, and it was very cute. So I think it would be a cool thing for them to have more of that available in parks. Um all right, what other boxes can I get on tonight? Ruby Amethyst won 2 CCQ. Well, we saw it in top 2 in Gen Con, and we saw it was in top 4, I think, in the 2K at Ink Inc. Yeah, it won. We saw second. It was second place. So very interesting to see this. I'm a non-believer. I don't think this deck is as good as it's performing this past weekend, which probably is a hot take because it did well 3 times. It has to be doing it, like, has to be good, right? Um, I think it just was very good at these events, into the meta for these events. Did Lorcana get rained on? So no, Lorcana did not get rained on at Gen Con. That was like in another part of the hall. But I definitely saw videos of that and it looked horrible. Like, I don't know what booth it was, but you could tell that it was like literally pouring on one of the poor vendors. And one of the really big things about Gen Con is not only do you have these like very big developed game companies that are there, but you also have a lot of like mom and pop game developers. So like they're rubbing together every penny. You've got your Kickstarter, and to see, like, I just like saw that and my heart hurt for them because it's like, oh no, like their merch and their like inventory is so much like more like less of a margin of messing up, and losing that inventory can be a huge setback. So I was really sad to see that. Like, I think we kind of giggle watching it, and feel bad, but like thinking about it a little further, you just feel terrible for anyone who might have had inventory ruined, because a building I don't even know how that happens. Like, that is like a massive hole in the ceiling if you're having like torrential downpour from outside be coming inside. It just is unreal. So here is the deck from the Ink Inc. event that took second place. I have too many things open, so we're gonna close a few so that we actually share the correct list. Here we So, this list is focused on a lot of the reckless characters, so playing into Aladdin's boost mechanic, as well as that Peter Pan and Tinkerbell dual shift line. Is that a dual shift or oh, it's just a straight shift, shift 4, and it can be either character. So I think, and I know, I watched a little bit of this tournament. I didn't watch the whole event, but one of the things that I know that they mentioned that they struggled on, was a lot of these reckless characters towards the end of the game when they were trying to close out, um, the game. They kept running into the reckless characters instead of characters that quest. So definitely the downside of this build. Oh look, Ruby Am. Yeah. So interesting deck build here. A lot of very big bodies. A lot of low cost characters to match pace with the aggro Amber Emerald decks. I think it's going to be interesting as we go into the next few weeks. So, trying to think. I don't know if we have. I'm sure we have events this weekend. I'm trying to scroll down to my list to see. So, those were past events. We've got upcoming events. So I'm sure I don't have any on my list for this weekend, but I feel like there absolutely is something this weekend. We're gonna see lots of testing this weekend. We may see, a tournament or two, lots of probably chatter on social media and in discords, as we get into both the CCS 50K Invitational as well as the D23 CCQ. So very interesting, two very different events. For D23, we've got that event was capped out at 128. Um, Still a lot of questions up in the air about where exactly that event is going to be held within the D23 space. Um, Something that I'm a little nervous about, if I'm being fully transparent, but I think we'll, from those two events, both at D23 and the CCS, we're gonna see the meta kind of shift and settle, in my opinion. We'll have a huge, um so there is a play area on the map. It doesn't look very big. One, so and, like, if that is the only area that they can hold it, you're essentially holding a very high stakes competitive event, in the middle of a giant convention center. So, I laughed, someone mentioned, uh, you know, I have my loops. I will be bringing them. They will be packed, to kind of help with noise. But it will be very insane, if the event is really just like straight up in the middle of the D23 floor. Like I think from a like public standpoint, like, oh, it'd be kind of cool for people to just see that happening, but from a player standpoint, not a great player experience. So we shall see. There are other rooms that they could potentially hold it in. So, for example, at like Gen Con, there is like a separate game space, um, that is of like you have like so like Magic has a play space, Riftbound has a play space, Lorcana has a play space, that is separate from the like shopping area of Gen Con and like other parts of Gen Con. So it is, while it is still in the middle of this large event, it is still kind of in a area dedicated to gameplay. So you have like a level of understanding if you go into that area that that's what's happening there, whereas I think in the middle of D23, no one's really gonna understand that, so it's just gonna kind of be a very, very loud space that will add, like, sort of another level to just gameplay, and I am not looking forward to that. Um, what is really interesting, and it's been talked about a lot if you've tuned into any of the ICL matches, about how many Amber Emerald decks we have that are viable. So, um, we have the Eleanor build, we have just the straight aggro, we have toys, we have the circle, circle of life build, and I feel like I'm forgetting something, but all of them are very different, like games that they're like lines, cards, everything, and how you play into them if you're playing into those decks or is very, very different. Um, so it does bring like a very interesting conversation into the meta of like how do you prep for that? My solution is playing against and playing those decks as much as possible to try to understand what my like what you want to do with each of those and to each of the different matches. But it definitely brings in a different element to the game with how open the meta is right now, because I think, this is the first time in a very long time that we've seen you know, every single weekend a different deck is winning. So it will definitely be interesting to see what happens. And we saw some even just some different builds come in for, you know, amethyst steel. We've seen emerald steel doing well. Um, we've seen amethyst amber doing well. There are just so many different variances. Um, I I have to admit I am not a sapphire steel believer. That deck can be a pain to play against, but I think there's still it's still just not quite there and not quite dependable enough to pick as a deck that I personally would play. But I know that the sapphire steel lovers, they really love that deck. Um, the Mickey mini deck, can I just say, why the heck do they always have it? How are all of these people shifting on turn 2 or turn 3? It is wild. That card's a menace. Be interested to see if like we see something viable come out of that. It's just when that deck pops off, it pops off. I think it's a little bit too swingy at the moment. But I think it's also really neat seeing some of these, what I would call a theme deck, be playable in the meta. I think that that's kind of healthy for local play. But I am hopeful that some of that stuff we see maybe amped up. Maybe that's some of the D23 announcements. Definitely looking for like more competitive play announcements, but we do also need something for locals. I mean, most of our locals used to see anywhere between 15 to 20 people at league. Any league you picked, that's what you were getting. And I've seen them really die down across the board because um there just really isn't incentive to go to league at the moment. You know, promos are great. I now have, you know, probably a million of each promo. I, as somebody who takes home all of the bulk, still have empty boxes that I don't know what to do with from some of those themed boxes that they've been giving out. I also would love for them to finish out, as I'm staring at my storage and I have one of each color box that they came out with. So they came out with an amber, they came out with amethyst, they came out with emerald, they came out with ruby, and then they stopped the colors. They stopped the ink colors. Um, and that doesn't bother me at all. Kidding. It bothers me a lot. I am very excited with the announcement of the pin as part of the Honey Heist events at League. So I think that will be cool. Seeing those. I am excited to kind of set up those events. I need to read through. I didn't see, um, you know, I run League at. I just use. Yeah, oh, I didn't even think about that. That's very smart to use the stickers on like bulk boxes. Um, I might I might start doing that now. I never thought to do that before. And I feel kind of silly that I never thought to do that. That's a very good idea. So some of the builds for Amber Amethyst that I've been liking. We saw Garrick do very well this weekend with the aggro build, which, let's see. Share. So, you know, essentially this is looking to aggro out as much as possible. You have the Pluto, the Auroras to bring the costs of some cards down, as well as Willows. And then you have our lovely Pocahontas that you can shift out and stop your opponent from attacking, and you can basically guarantee yourself 2 turns to quest with your characters before your opponent can attack in. Just a very solid build of a deck here. Not me sitting here being like, I want to see someone enchant this deck out, and I wish I had epics to play, because you would bet I'd play this if I had them. I just finished going through and updating my collection, um, leading up to LCQ and multiple events that I will be seeing lots of friends that I can do some trading to finish out some of my foil collection, as well as fill in some gaps of missing enchanteds that I don't have. So excited for that, but I do think this is a really strong build. Um, it's the Eleanor and Pocahontas combo here, along with the Queen, and then Dale kind of coming in and supporting you. So, making Mike that 4/4 rather than the 0/4. Similar with David, with the bodyguard. Some of these cards just, really stand out in this matchup. Now, you don't want to play into um, a mirror where your opponent is playing a slightly different build and they're on something with Under the Sea. It's very interesting playing in this meta right now, because you have so many decks that kind of counter each other, um, that make for, in my opinion, a pretty healthy meta. I know a lot of people don't love this because they want to have those, 3 top contender decks and then just kind of shift their build to, how do I beat what I think out of those 3 decks will be the most popular. So it'll be interesting going into the next few weeks, kind of seeing what we see. Um, I'm excited to see. I know for like my testing purposes, so I've had these decks built out. I need to build out Ruby Amethyst. That's the only deck that I don't kind of have built already. So we'll probably be building that after the show tonight, if I'm being honest. But I'll take these, and after every week, so I've had them built for a little over a week now. Worked on updating them after we got a lot of the data in from this weekend event, and just kind of tweak them to like the newest and greatest versions of themselves, and then be able to play test each weekend. And as we, kind of play test, making slight adjustments to some of the decks that I'm looking at, like truly playing in these events. So it's been a good time. I am very excited. Not only for D23, I feel like I'm like focused on D23 first because that's how my brain works. I've got to focus on the first event, get it through it, and then we can focus on the next. But very excited to go to the CCQ or the LCQ then 2 weeks after D23 at Disneyland. It was very fun. I was fortunate enough to go to the first LCQ. We got this weekend, we had signups for side events. I signed up for a few. I'm hoping that I don't need any of them, that I do really well in my event and can make, day 2. But I think that it's interesting to see the change from last year to this year. So we are having a prize wall at LCQ this year. So that's nice. Last year, you basically got your promos by playing inside events. And that turned into be a bit of a nightmare because what people did was you signed up for all of these events, you went to the event, you got your promo, and then you left, and no one was actually playing Lorcana. So I do think the shift to the prize wall is definitely the better choice. What I am a little disappointed is there wasn't any at all of the DLCs this year. We've had the big side event where you could get, all one of each promo and a playmat if you went um XO or X1. Um, and I think it's a little bit of a bummer that we don't see one of those similar, very large events. So last year at the LCQ, we also had like the kind of knockout event that if you made it to a certain point, there was a side event for the people that kind of bubbled out of Nats to play in. I forget what you had to like, what your record had to be to get into that event. But that was a really cool thing that they did, and it had lots of prizing. I am very excited for the promo cards at LCQ. So we have Headless Horseman, we have Down in New Orleans, we have I'm forgetting things and looking it up now. LCQ Lorcana prize. I'm trying to see if here we go. So here are our cards that we are getting. There we go. So we have, which everybody, sorry for the fast scrolling. So we have Standout, we have Down in New Orleans, we have Tinkerbell, we have the Headless Horseman, and we have both the Down in New Orleans and the Headless Horseman playmats. So for the main event, everyone will get a foil Standout. Top 64 will get Down in New Orleans. Top 32 will get a Headless Horseman, and those correspond as well with the mats at that point. And then top 16 will get the foil promo of Tinkerbell, and top 8 obviously get that serialized Golden Mickey and an invite to Worlds. And then we have top 4 getting the uncut sheet, and top 2 getting full sets. And the champion gets a full Enchanted uncut sheet and a trophy, which is really cool. I don't think I saw that they get a Enchanted uncut sheet. That's neat. And then for prize wall, we're seeing all of those non-foil options. Still sticking with the Mulan and Simba charging ahead playmats, as well as those non-foil promos from the rest of the season. Something that hasn't been talked about, and I'm interested to see if during the Lorecast we hear this or hear more about it. We know that D23 is the first CCQ of season 3. And a few weeks back for season 3, we did get updated guidelines and pricing for the CCQs. So for CCQs for Lorcana now, there are going to be pricing specific to each of the CCQs. So I am vamping to pull up the document on the Lorcana website. So the event term sheet, which I just stopped sharing instead of hitting to share. This is CCQ pricing. So we have participants, it's to be confirmed, top 32. Wait. Yeah. So essentially they talked about, and now of course I like can't find the exact wording, but they talked about how participation you'll get a card, top 32 will get a card, top 8 will get a card, and then first place will get that champion invite, as well as there will be those convention playmats. So really fun thing to kind of add. And season 3 is going to have that villain theme. So interested to see if this week on the Lorecast we get that announcement of what these cards and prizes are, because we would expect them to be a part of the prizing pool at the D23 CCQ. And as I joked, I was like, if they aren't, I will be bugging them at the event and absolutely expect them to get mailed to us, because, they announced this. And it would be really disappointing if they don't have those things, because I think that's a huge improvement from last year, or like this season to moving into season 3. I think that's something that's going to really help get attendance up at some of these CCQs, because, when we're looking at a CCQ where only the first place is getting an invite, your return on value of going to the event and, taking off. We have raiders. Oh my gosh. Hello, welcome. Wherever you came from. I appreciate you, because I don't have Twitch up to see who are you. Oh, Wonder. Thank you, friend. Hello and welcome to everyone from the ICL. Hopefully the lounge did their job as I go and double check that we had a good night from the lounge, but also just excited to have everybody here. I've been vibing, and being a menace, drinking my Diet Coke. Do you have a mini fridge? So funny enough, I don't have it anymore, but one of my wedding gifts from my like best friends was a Diet Coke mini fridge. Oh, absolutely. So the document that I have up, this is a few weeks back, they talked about the event terms sheet. So this is that sheet that basically talks through everything that third-party support policy, essentially. So dedicated pricing, it says like kind of what will be provided, what Ravensburger will provide, the event date, like limitations, broadcasting, and some other fun stuff. But nice that we have this, because obviously it was kind of a free-for-all this year. So very good document to have updated. All of the wonderful raiders missed out on my rant about D23, getting ready for that, and LCQ, and how I'm very excited that we have a prize wall so we can actually play Lorcana inside events, since last year at the LCQ, I feel like everybody got their promo and said bye. So it will be nice to have that as a change. I'm just excited for a month of Lorcana. This is just like a menace to society. Coke is the better choice. Pepsi is never the better choice, whether it diet, regular. I am very excited to travel out to Anaheim, get to go to Disneyland, do all the fun things. Intrigued to see what happens with the meta. I feel like we've talked a lot about how we just see like kind of constant shifting Oh, sorry. Did that list of dates of all the pre-releases under the dates have any other interesting dates blacked off? Great question. Let's take a look. To see if we can. So we have pre-releases, global releases. We just have examples. So May 7th, 2026. Nope, they were smart. They used dates from this past year. Good for them. They were smart enough that we would sleuth. So no interesting dates in here. But I like where your head's at. That's something I would think of as well, to be like, do we have information on when releases will be or other large events? I really would like to know when Worlds is going to be, and if it's going to be public or private event. I feel like it would be very sad if we get 2 years in a row of not getting to have what they originally planned when they announced Worlds, which was supposed to be a big party for all of the community. But I am excited. I will be at D23. I put the Lorcana panel as my number one choice. So it is now in the Disney and Lorcana God's Fate. We find out on Friday which panels we got tickets to, because essentially the way all the D23 paneling works is you fill out a form, you put in your top requests, so you could pick 3 for each day. I think it was this year is how they did it, 3 or 5. And then basically that was about 2 weeks ago that we had to get that in. I think it was due by this past Friday or the Friday before. And then this Friday is when we will find out what we got, which kind of helps then figure out how you then do all of the virtual queues. Oh, yeah. So last year, my understanding, and in years past at D23, you couldn't get cards signed by artists. You could only get I don't know how they're gonna work it, because a lot of the restrictions at D23 are you can only do you can only get things signed that you purchase at D23. Oh, you could at the last one. Okay, so I had heard kind of mixed things that essentially you couldn't. So it will be interesting. I keep saying my whole thought process around D23 is I am expecting to be able to purchase nothing that I want and get none of the events that I want to go to. And that way, whatever I do get and whatever I am able to attend panel wise, I'll be very excited about. I have zero expectations other than there are going to be a lot of people and I will be wearing my loops all weekend. So if you are also going to D23 and you see me and I don't answer, come tap me on the shoulder or get it, not all up in my personal space, but get my attention, because I will have loops in. So unless you're not yelling at me, I potentially won't hear you if you're quiet though. So please come say hi. Yes, I am doing the CCQ. I used all of I keep joking throughout Lorcana. I've been very lucky about getting tickets for all of these events. And I joke that my years of training for Run Disney events to register for different Disney things has prepared me so that I've been able to have fairly good luck for these. And truthfully, it is all luck. So I'm bummed. I know a lot of people didn't get tickets, but I managed to snag one and I'm very excited. I've been doing a lot of prep. I know you kind of rated in with the ICL group, and last night I played with the Lazy Boys, and I mentioned after my match when I was being interviewed, prepping, and as I pull my sorting tray of decks, I have 16 decks that I've been prepping with and play testing with against into practicing all the lines I can. It's been very, very good. That looks insane. So I'm very grateful to some of my teammates that let me borrow cards. Yeah, Kirby, I know you've been busy, but yes, I have 16 decks. That's why everybody I can't remember the name of 16. No, I do. And I bring them to League. It's actually something that I'm thinking about like continuously keeping up with and trying to keep basically the meta decks and like slightly meta adjacent decks built at all times. Oh, thank you so much. I think that this has been a really fun thing to have because not only has it been great for playtesting, but we've had new players at League, and I've been able to kind of loan out some decks and be able to help them play a little bit more of a competitive deck. Or my teammates, they're just borrowing a deck from our community builds so that it's a little bit easier, and it's been like a good way to convince my friends that maybe after a long day of work they don't necessarily want to come to League, and I'm like, but I have a deck already built. Which one do you want? You can play any of the 16. So that's been really great, and I think it's kind of nice. It will be interesting to like kind of keep up moving forward. I have some like I do have two of the decks, I will be fully transparent, are silly. I have the honey deck and I have one of the toy decks, and obviously those aren't the most competitive decks. So I think that they are still very fun, and like particularly the toys deck, like that's definitely like somewhat competitive. So that's been fun to like let people borrow and get to play with. So definitely enjoying this. And yes, so my collection of Lorcana, and I'll share on my Instagram. I've shared it before, but I'll share how I store everything. I have acrylic shelves that go into a Billy bookshelf. And I keep 2 play sets of every card. For commons and uncommons, I usually keep 4 just because it's a little bit easy to keep those like sorted out versus my closet, which has like all of my extra bulk that needs to be sorted, and that's a project for another day that I don't want to think about. um so I am very lucky that I'm able to build as many decks as I am. And then obviously for some of like the legendaries and super rares, those cards that maybe I was lucky enough to pull extras, either use those or had some friends from the team give me to make sure I could build all 16 of these decks, because I sadly don't have enough Demonas, Hades, trying to think of some of the other legendary cards that I was like, oh, hey, why do all these decks play these? Oh, right, they're just good cards. So definitely, yes, Dumbo. Dumbo is the other big one. That one is, I was very lucky. I joked that I funded quite a few Enchanteds from Fabled from the amount of Dumbos I pulled. I had very good luck and proceeded to flip them for Enchanteds. And I wish I would have almost sold some more of them and only kept like one playset, because now those Enchanteds are very expensive, and I wish I had a couple of the ones that I'm missing. and didn't have to potentially buy them one day. Well, we're at 9:10. I'm a little tired. I've rambled on for over an hour. So I don't have much more to chat about, but I will be back here next Wednesday. For all of the lovely raiders, thank you for dropping by. I hope you enjoyed the ICL. And if you find yourself wrapping up the ICL next week and want to come hang out, please do. I'm Enchanted Chatter, Courtney. And you can follow hopefully us here on Twitch or YouTube. And if you don't already, I also post a lot on Instagram, trying to be better. I say I am a content creator light. Main goal here is to promote women in Lorcana space and share all the amazing people that are in the community. So most of the time I have a guest with me, and we're talking about their Lorcana journey as well as the meta. So until next time, everybody have a good week, and I will hopefully see some of you over the course of the next month. Bye, y'all.